Hey all, welcome back to Awful Stories. I'm Michael, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe for daily videos. The first was made in the advice subreddit by a user named Do Archer. The post is titled, "My husband refuses to take care of our disabled child." My husband, 30 years old, and I, 26 years old, had our baby boy just over a year ago. Unfortunately, he was born prematurely at 7 months and had to be placed in intensive care to help him survive. Over the following year, we noticed some abnormalities in his movement. He could barely crawl and couldn't hold his head up when sitting. We took him to several pediatrician visits, and the doctors recently diagnosed him with cerebral palsy, telling us he would never be able to walk. After learning about our son's disability, my husband became angry and directed his frustration toward me. He told me he doesn't want to raise a disabled child because he sees it as a waste of time and money. He even said we should give our baby up for adoption and have another one. I called him crazy for saying such a thing about our child. I've tried convincing my husband that we have to accept our baby as he is, but he has insulted me, saying it's my fault for giving birth at 7 months. He's even accused me of cheating on him, claiming the baby isn't his. My husband has become verbally abusive, telling me he wants a divorce because in his eyes, I failed as a mother for giving birth to a disabled child. He also said he's already looking for another woman who can give him healthy children. I feel so sad that my husband sees our baby as worthless and refuses to help me care for him. I don't want to be a single mother, but I also can't imagine trying to work and take care of my child on my own. User Wait Saren said, get a paternity test and the divorce papers and give them to him all at once. Gold Kaleido said, I don't think you want your child around this man, do you? I can't imagine he'll be the father your child needs or the husband you need. Do you have any family? Could you and your child move in with them? To this OP said, I have my parents. I'm looking into what I can do. I don't earn enough to provide for us and pay for my son's treatments. I'm scared of being a single mother and not being able to take care of my son and work at the same time. The second story for today was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Regular Ebb. The post is titled, My husband is ending our marriage because we weren't intimate as often as he wanted. My husband, 37 years old, and I, 34 years old, have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We've had a very happy relationship. He even says so himself. We share a lot of hobbies, get along extremely well, and never really fight. We have occasional disagreements, split chores evenly, contribute to bills proportionally, and enjoy doing the same things for entertainment. So what's the problem then? This doesn't sound like the typical Reddit post of he's really great except for how horrible he is, because it isn't. He truly is a great partner and a kind, thoughtful person. The problem is a difficult but common one: sex. He wasn't getting it as often as he would have liked. And I don't mean we had a dead bedroom, we were having sex once a week. I made sure of that because he had voiced these concerns before. When we started dating, I knew we had mismatched sex drives. Mine is pretty low and has been an issue in some previous relationships. I'm pretty neutral about sex and could go months without it and feel perfectly fine. And before anyone says anything, no, it isn't hormonal. I've seen doctors, and it's not because I've never had good sex. I have. This is just how I am. He didn't seem to mind at first. Over time, though, he grew more frustrated, so we talked about it and compromised on once a week. I could handle that much. And that's how things went until a few months ago when he said he was still feeling frustrated and wanted sex every other day or a few times a week. I told him I couldn't do that. That's why we agreed on once a week in the first place, because that's what I can manage. He said he didn't think he could be happy that way after 6 years. It took him 6 years and getting married to figure that out. And here we are now, separated with him moved out. The house we lived in is mine. I bought it before I met him. The pets we had are mine too. We had a happy home and a little family. No kids yet, but we were talking about it. Now, half of his things are in storage because he has hobbies that take up a lot of space, and he can't fit everything into the tiny apartment he rented. He also had to sell his antique car because he couldn't park it there, and I wouldn't let him keep it at my house. He's been complaining about money now because I earn more than twice what he does and was paying more than half of the bills. I'm not sure if he started dating. I told him I didn't care if he did while we went through the divorce. I know he wasn't cheating, he was always loyal, so there's no other woman waiting in the wings. I'm sure he'll sort things out eventually, but for now, he's living alone in a cramped apartment that doesn't allow pets, surrounded by almost none of his favorite things, and getting no sex at all because once a week wasn't enough. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking any pleasure in it, but honestly, it's kind of funny to me now. He chose this and now he's miserable. I've spent the last few months devastated and heartbroken, but I'm finally starting to pick myself up and see how ridiculous the situation is. He's a really good person, but maybe just kind of an idiot. Lionbridge said, "You two sound incompatible. A mismatched sex drive might work for a few years, and sometimes it lasts a lifetime, but it's also okay that it wasn't enough for him. It's better to separate before he cheats or resentment grows." Syed said, "I don't think I could be in a marriage where I knew the other person was having sex with me once a week just to make me happy, rather than because they actually desired me. When I know the other person isn't into it, it instantly kills it for me. That's no way to live. Even if things are difficult for him right now, I'm sure he'll sort himself out eventually." This third and final story was made in the advice subreddit by a user named Whitish Llama. The post is titled, "Old Fling from 2010 added me on Facebook and I think her 15-year-old might be my kid. Back in 2010, I was 20, working a retail job with a girl about my age. We were friends, hung out after work a few times, and one night things got physical. It was a one-time thing. A few days later, she got fired, not because of me, just workplace drama, and after that, she completely disappeared. She never returned calls or answered texts, nothing. I figured she just wanted to move on, so life went on for me too. Fast forward to now, I am 35, married for 8 years, no kids. Yesterday, I got a Facebook friend request from her out of nowhere. I hadn't thought about this woman in over a decade. Out of curiosity, I checked her profile. She has a son who just turned 15. Here's the thing, the kid looks exactly like me at that age. Same hair color, same nose, same build, even the same smile, a gap in our front teeth. I used to hate in photos. I showed my brother without saying anything and he said, 'Dude, that looks like you in middle school.' It also appears that she married a guy a few years after our encounter. I believe they are now divorced. He is of a different ethnicity than me. They had a few children together and the 15-year-old appears not to be his. Now I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do with this information. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the math lines up perfectly, and the resemblance is impossible to ignore. To make things more difficult, my wife and I have been struggling to conceive for years. We've gone through tests, treatments, and a lot of disappointment. It's been hard on both of us, and the idea that I might have a biological child out there that I never knew about is messing with my head. My wife knows about that fling. She's always known I wasn't a saint before we met. But she obviously doesn't know I might have a 15-year-old kid out there. I have no idea how to even start that conversation. So I've got two problems. Do I message this woman and ask straight up if her son is mine? She had to add me for a reason, right? More importantly, how do I even begin to approach the subject with my wife? I'm not trying to blow up anyone's life here, but if that kid is mine, I feel like I have a right to know, and he has a right to know too. I'm in a position in life where I could greatly help him in the next few years, college, etc. On the other hand, I want to prevent causing a huge mess in my marriage. Any direction or advice is appreciated. Common Media said, "If my husband told me he had a 15-year-old child he never knew about, I'd just feel bad for him and his son." This is a wild story though, and I try to connect with the mother as soon as possible. Little Potato Face said, "Yes, just say what you said here. You've actually done nothing wrong. You hadn't met your wife, I assume. You were a 20-year-old who had a consensual encounter with someone. About 8 years ago, I was visiting my parents overseas. My dad was away for the night when a random woman showed up looking for him. Long story short, my takeaway was that they'd had an affair a long time ago. A child had been born and she couldn't keep it a secret anymore. You know what I said to my mom? You can't get mad, you hadn't even met him, and it's not like he knew about this. Anyway, it turns out I was off base with my theory, but the broader point stands.